Hi guys, welcome back to the Stage Performance Podcast. So today I got to talk to Charlotte Sager, harpist, and it was such a fun conversation. Lots of topics came up that I didn't expect, and it's a really, really fun time. Charlotte is a fantastic harpist, and we actually met at a wedding, and we spontaneously played a set together, and musically we just got on really well, and we've kept in touch since. So I wanted to find out a bit more about what she does, what gets her motivated, and just lots of fun things about music. So have a listen. Charlotte, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, well, do you know what? Out of everyone that I've interviewed, I think the introduction that we had was probably the coolest. It was the wedding that we were doing, and the timings weren't aligning, and I was in a rush to get to another gig. It was, you know what it's like? Sometimes you have multiple bookings on a day, and then the solution was if we play together. And there was like a 50-50 chance you could have been like, no, go away. I'm just going to do my set. But saxophone and harp. And I actually think it sounded really nice.
Yeah,
And
really nice.
Just kept in touch since.
We could have started a new thing right there.
We could have. And maybe we did.
This is the new trend.
It is.
We made it. We started, guys. We
Yeah,
started.
it's all thanks to us. So any future duos, you've got Matthew and Charlotte to thank for that.
We need to think of like a duo name now. I'll leave that to
Haxophone.
you. Vetoed.
Life hacks, but like do it with the H. No, that's literally how hacks is spelled. So that like I was thinking we were doing something original cool there, and it's just the
Let's
spelling.
sit on that. We'll sit on that. Something to think about.
Yeah. So like obviously you've been performing for a very long time, and I would just like to ask, like, where did it all start for you? Like when were you like, oh, harp, that's for me?
So if we're going to go right back
Yeah.
to the very, very beginning, I think it will be when I was about 5 and I started learning piano,
Right.
not the harp. So piano first. And I had lessons for a couple of years on the piano. I loved it. And, you know, the type of kid who was quite obsessed, never had to be told to practice, was constantly kicking my sister off the piano, saying, no, I want to do it. I want to practice. And then my teacher at the time said, you know, she might benefit from learning another instrument. And so my parents took me to an orchestral concert in Leeds Town Hall.
Right.
Which is where I'm from. I'm from Leeds.
Cool.
And they said, right, we want you to watch this concert and have a think, look at all the instruments and listen to them, look at them, how they're played, and decide which one is for you next. So I'm having a look, I'm looking at the violins, and to be honest with you, my dad had already said no to any bowed string instrument.
Why?
Not my decision, obviously.
Right, okay.
Who knows? It could be a cellist. It could have been a violinist if he hadn't said that. But just because he didn't have the patience for the early years of learning a bowed string instrument and listening to me learning a bowed string instrument.
It's really interesting you say that, because I think like early influences can really influence, for lack of a better word, like your decision on what instrument you play and who you're inspired by. Like, so I had a few cousins and stuff in family that played like drums, and initially I thought that would be a cool instrument, but I didn't always find the people. Like, I had a cousin that did piano as well, and he was just such a cool guy, and I thought, I want to do what he's doing. And it's like the relationship you have with the people that inspire you that can really say, they can really make you want to go and do it.
I mean, well, exactly. My dad's a pianist as well. So I suppose he sort of got me into starting the piano originally. But then when I was at this orchestral concert, I was sort of looking around thinking, right, I can't do violin, I can't do cello, can't do viola. What's next? And during the interval, I remember looking at the harpist on stage tuning, just on their own. And I remember leaning over to my mum and saying, can I have a go? Like, can I? And she was like, no. And she said, yeah. I said, can you ask if I can have a go? And she said, no, I'm not asking. I was like, right, okay. And then I just never let go of that idea. I really wanted to play the harp. That was it. It was stuck in my head. And I think for the next year or two, I said to my mum, you know, please, can I learn the harp? I really want to learn the harp. And they kind of tried to fob me off with things like, I remember they bought me this instrument called a cymbala.
I've never heard of that.
which is like a flat stringed instrument that you can pluck each string with like a little plectrum.
Right, okay.
And I was just obsessed with that, but it wasn't quite enough for me. I wanted to do the harp. So played that to death, and I said, look, I still want to learn the harp. And then when I started middle school, so when I was about 7 or 8, there was a harp teacher there. I thought, right, this is
That's
my
very
chance.
cool.
I'm going to get lessons. And that is when I started to learn the harp. So
That
kind of an
is-
organic
yeah.
evolution.
And you kind of went through a few instruments to get there as well.
Yeah, I mean, the cymbala was just a bit of fun. But I think from my mum and dad's perspective, they wanted to see how obsessed I was.
Yeah. No, I understand that. And I think it is, there's something to be said for like kind of finding your instrument as well. And
And it's a big investment, the harp.
of course,
I mean,
yeah.
even finding a teacher and finding an instrument, it's such a big undertaking
Yeah.
that I think my parents were sort of like, we need to be sure that she really wants this. If she's going to pursue it, then we need to make sure. So,
And you can understand that as well because like, I don't know what the statistic for this is, but you see that most people that initially start to learn an instrument quit before they get like to a proficient level. And when it's kids, this isn't even just a music thing, but they take up hobbies so quickly and then throw it down again.
yeah.
And so, like, you might find kids that have bought the parents that have bought pianos and stuff for the kids, and then they don't use it, and they think, well, that was a waste. So,
Yeah.
like, with you, it paid off, though, you know?
Thank God.
So, like, that was the origin story of when you found the harp. Like, when did you start professionally playing? Like, when did you take it seriously as a career?
Well, it's funny because I think in my head, always, ever since I was really young, I wanted to do it professionally, and I knew I wanted to do it professionally. But I do remember my very first teacher sort of saying to me when I graduated from the classic or the lever harp, which is the smaller one, and the one that I started on, and I was looking to get a pedal harp, which is the one I play now. And I remember her saying, look, you are not going to make a living from this. You're never going to make a living from it. So just bear this in mind with your goals for the future of playing the instrument. You've really got to love performing and playing it just for yourself, first and foremost, because you won't make a living from it. And in my head, probably just because of who I am, I thought, okay, I'm listening to the words, but they're not sinking in.
How far were into you playing when they said that to you?
Oh, I mean, I suppose I'd played for maybe 4 years. I'd played classic or lever harp, as I called it when I was down in Leeds.
So after 4 years of dedication, then they turn around to you and say, "Oh, by the way, you're not going to make a living on that." Was that like a personal dig at your ability, or was it just a general comment?
No. She was very complimentary about, the effort that I put in and the progress I'd made and
But it's
everything
all for
like
nothing.
that.
It doesn't mean it. Like that's kind of how that comes across.
I think it was from her perspective. She was a different generation. And from her perspective of who she knew who'd played the harp and kind of the routes professionally that they'd gone down with it. I think that was her opinion, and that was fine. But I think I saw that as a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, well, you would. I mean, there's only two reactions to that, and like when you're a kid, it can be even harder to do what you've done because you're impressionable. Like you don't have life experience. You're reliant more or less on your parents and your teachers to really give you solid life advice. And it's only when you get older where you realise, hey, you guys don't actually have all the answers. You know, so the fact that you kind of went and took the bull by the horns and says kind of like, I'll show you. Really, have you ever seen her again since like you've achieved all that you have now?
No,
Or?
I actually haven't.
No.
No, I haven't. I don't know what I would say to her if I saw her. Perhaps nothing. But I do think that she would be happy for me.
Yeah, so it's not like one of those spite situations. It was more
No,
like
not at all. Not at all. I think she was just trying to be realistic with me because she could see how obsessed I was with it and how I was kind of throwing everything into it right from the very beginning. And she didn't want me to have maybe ideas that I was going to be a professional harpist and be touring the world and making a living from it, so to speak.
I still don't think it's a cool thing for a teacher to say to someone, like, I don't know.
These things happen.
They do.
You have to have very thick skin as a musician,
do.
as you know.
Yeah, and I guess, like, you really, like, feel how thick the skin is as the years have progressed.
100%.
It's not something it's not an overnight thing. Like, there's something to be said for, like, training the heart in a way, isn't there? Because it's like, you see people, this isn't a tangent I was going to take, right? But, like, if you look at other industries and stuff like that, like fitness, for instance, like, you can train your body constantly, but still be super insecure as a person. And I guess the same could be said for musicians that just practice technical ability. That's probably the equivalent. Like, there's a fitness in the musical, and they never put themselves forward for opportunities. And when they do put themselves forward and they realise, hey, you're not going to get this first try, this prior required years of putting yourself out there and failing, like, the earlier you can start doing that and putting yourself out there and taking the L's and really develop a better relationship with failure and realise it's just gathering data rather than, like, a personal attack on your character.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think you learn to accept criticism as a professional musician very early on.
Did you find that was your experience when you were studying at college? Did you find that, like, it was quite fruitful in terms of getting valuable information to do a career?
I think I found music college interesting in the sense that it's wildly different from what I do now to what I studied. I studied classically.
Yeah.
And, I am really grateful for all the opportunities that I had when I was there. But because what I do now is so, so different, I can't really say that much of what I did there benefited me, so to speak, even down to the kind of connections that I made when I was there. All the connections that I made when I was at music college were music directors and conductors. And of course now, because I'm a soloist and I do everything myself, I don't really need to be in contact with people like that. All my connections now are to do with venues and hospitality and the wedding industry and other suppliers within those industries, essentially. So some things were a positive experience. I loved the performing aspect when I was at music college. So any opportunity that I got to perform, it didn't matter what it was. And I actually took an extra year after my Bachelor of Music with honours, so a 5th year, to make sure that I could play in loads of different ensembles and situations. And the RCS would get, they would get students to play external gigs and things. So I took up all of those opportunities. And it was just a year really to do as much performing as possible.
Yeah.
Because that is what I loved about my degree. There were certain aspects that I wasn't a big fan of. But I suppose that happens with all degrees that you do.
Well, if there's one thing I'll say for that course is that there was no shortage of performance.
No.
There was tons of it, and you had, like, performance class. I don't know if this was a thing when you were there, but you had performance class and you had to play in front of the whole uni.
I've got PTSD.
Yeah.
PTSD.
Well, it could be difficult. I think it's probably one of the hardest things you'll ever do, because you're in a room full of musicians that are almost looking to critique you. You're in a room with people that aren't going to enjoy the performance, and they're actively looking, to scrutinise in a way. And it's
brutal. That was actually brutal.
You didn't actually. You just wanted to get through it. Just know you were going to get a head kicking for whatever you played, and
I know that there were certain people that would take certain calming prescriptions before a performance class.
I knew a few kids actually that pulled out every single time they had to do it, and that went through uni. They didn't play once. They just had excuse after excuse. And I don't blame them, because it was nerve-wracking, but I think, like,
you were under such scrutiny.
Yeah, it's insane.
From everyone.
I'll be honest, I didn't understand half the feedback I got. It just was words,
I think also,
big words.
didn't they used to get graded on what their questions were as well? Wasn't that all part of the course?
Do you know what? This is quite a funny story because one of the things that you had to know, and I don't know if this technically answers your question, but like you had to know the context and be able to talk about the context of the music. You'd be graded on that as well.
Yeah.
And I remember for an exam that I sat once, I had my driving test the day before, and the advice I got for that driving test was if there's something you don't know when they ask about the theory, just say you don't know because they'll respect your honesty. And that served me well in the driving test. I passed that day, so I went into the technical exam with that same advice, being like, okay, if there's something I don't know, just say it. And then they say, what can you tell us about this piece? I said, nothing. And then I failed the exam.
At least you're honest.
Exactly. Probably should just have made something up in hindsight.
I mean, they could have checked in if it was wrong, and you might have still failed. Who knows?
Yeah, no, but I think as you say, like there's a lot of performance opportunities there. There's no shortage of that. But the one thing that I really thought, like the biggest lie, and this isn't just an RCS thing, this is a kind of like any music institution that focuses a lot on technical ability. I'd say the biggest lie that you're told is skill is everything. Just play the best you can be. Learn all your skills, learn every piece of it, and the work will come flooding in, and that just won't happen.
I think it's so dependent on what kind of instrument you play, and then the opportunities that are out there for that specific instrument. So
that's a good point, actually.
Obviously, the harp is so niche. There aren't many of us, and a lot of us are either classically trained originally, or maybe down the kind of Scottish music route. And we did a lot on the classic, a lot of kind of traditional folk stuff, and a lot of improvising. And I think the options are quite limited when it comes to that. So with what I did, I created my own options. And again, that wasn't something that was part of the course that I did at the RCS, but it was just what I decided I wanted to do with the harp. And I knew that I had to make it work because my passion for the harp never went away. I loved it, 100% loved it the entire time. I never thought, I don't want to do this. I just knew I wanted to do something else that wasn't on offer.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like there's that whole don't be the best, be the only. And I remember one of the teachers, I think it was Elizabeth Jenkinson, I don't know if she was there when you were there, but she says to me once, and I think it was in first year when there was a talk, it's like, in this field, you need to be an entrepreneur in order to succeed. You know, like the jobs aren't going to come to you.
Great
You need to
advice,
come.
because I never got that advice
No.
when I was there. There was nothing about how to get work when you've graduated.
There's not, right, and this is a conversation that I wanted. There were no classes on it, and I don't want to bash the place because I think that there was a lot that did really well, and for teaching a technical ability, because that's primarily what the course is. It's like teaching technical ability, and it's fantastic at that. I would never knock it for that, but I think a lot of unis don't really teach you how to, this isn't just a music thing. And I feel like I need to kind of emphasize that so that I'm not having a go at like my specific uni, but most places don't actually teach you how to get a job. They don't teach you how to do a career. They're paid to teach you a certain thing. They're not going to, and a lot of people, if you're being, they don't want to reveal the secrets in a way. And I kind of get that because like, you know, there's something to be said for everyone finding their own way, and maybe some advice won't work for someone else, but I do believe in gatekeepers, and I think a lot of people, but I believe in it small scale. I think anyone that's ultra secure in what they've done doesn't have any issue passing that on to someone because they've got an abundance. They live an abundance mindset, you know, like life is good.
There's more than enough for everyone.
Yeah. And anyone that's proficient at what they're doing, they're successful, like they have no issue. But I think when someone's found a little bit of success, not like enough to satisfy them, they want to hold on to that because they're afraid that everyone else might get it. That's just kind of my 2 cents on it.
Or whether they might be doubting their own skills in the process of thinking that as well, is another thing. But I do think that, you know, these kind of institutions not teaching us how to make a living from it in the end, this is like a wider problem of why so many people come to me and say, what else do you do then for a living? So if I'm gigging, if I'm at a wedding, or if I'm playing at an event, and so many people will come up to me and say, so do you do this full time? Thinking I'm going to say no.
Yeah. Have you ever had someone come up to you and word it in a way, what's your real job?
So many times. Not actually in the last maybe 3 to 5 years, I would say. But definitely in the past. So many people, what's your real job? Like, how do you really make money?
It's almost like a lot of people correlate having to, like, if you do something you love, then it's not work. Like they say, and I like that philosophy of like, you do something you love, you never work a day in your life. I totally agree. But I think people don't like the fact that you can enjoy your job. So they say, oh, what you must be doing something that you dislike. That's honest work. That's a real job. Whereas if you do something like creative, then it's not,
I think because a lot of people who are creative will have started when they were really young. So it started off as a hobby, and it started off as something purely just for enjoyment. When I started when I was 5, I wasn't thinking, how am I going to make money from this? And so I think people still hang on to that idea of it's just for enjoyment.
Yeah, and I also think like as you get older, like you say, you chase money. Like a lot of people chase money, and there was a phrase I can't remember who said it, but it was some motivational speech, and it was like if you chase money, it'll just run further away. Whereas if you chase the joy and really commit to the process for authenticity, the money comes in abundance. And I think that is easier to say and do when you're kind of younger or when you're in school or in uni and the stakes aren't there. I think that gets harder to do as you get older. I don't want to say you miss the window. I think like if you're passionate enough about something, you'll find a way. But like, there's definitely more responsibilities to contend with. Like if you were to like have not done anything and then start today to build all, it would be a lot harder to do.
Well, it does take time.
Yeah.
And you need to make these connections with the people that you think will be interested in what you do to then have them recommend you and want you to play for them at, events and gigs and things. So it's not an instant kind of gratification.
No, and
it does take time.
That's why I think a lot of people give up quite quick.
Yeah.
It's like if you sign up for like you see a lot of jobs where it's like, okay, hand in my CV, a week to get back to you, you're in. Whereas this isn't like that. That like it takes a long time to. I'd say in a way for anyone that's self-employed. But even then, the distinction is like, say you were like an electrician or something like that, you get an apprenticeship, you're guaranteed to learn the trade in that time. They teach you nothing but basically how to do the job. And then you can set up your own company after that. Whereas we kind of have to skip that part. We don't really have someone showing us everything.
No.
Like you don't take on apprentices, neither will I, and you just have to kind of jump into the deep end and make something work.
Find your own way.
Yeah. We're doing a lot of talking about teaching, but like, do you teach personally? Have you ever taught personally?
I've done a lot of teaching.
Right.
I was teaching before I actually went to music college. Started off, with, friends and family and things like that. And then when I went to music college, I did a little bit on the side, and that kind of snowballs after a while, I think, because you get recommended for teaching. And it's great to have part-time as you're doing your degree, and that's great. But ultimately, I always knew I wanted to do performing over teaching. And the goal was always just to be solely a performer. And it's hard once you've built up all these students. So I've taught in schools, I've taught in, peripatetic teaching, and I've done private teaching just from home or in the student's house. But ultimately, I always knew I wanted to do performing. So it was a case of, earning enough and having reliable income versus, right, times are ticking. I want to be a performer.
Yeah.
And how do we kind of either start to merge the two and then slowly and gradually diminish the teaching so that I can move forward with the performing. So that was quite hard. So I had some really great students, and it was I enjoyed it. I did, and some of the people that I met and some of the people who I worked with, but always in the back of my head that there was that niggling thought of, oh, I wish I was performing like, all the
Yeah.
time.
No,
You
it's a
can't ever get rid
very,
of that.
do you know, it's a very honest answer because, like, you hear a lot of people maybe pretend, like, they say, "Oh, I was really, really passionate about teaching," and you know, like, that's
Hmm.
not always the truth. Like, if we're being honest, I would say a lot of people, especially when they're at uni, teach for money. You know, they
Yeah.
don't teach for the love of the game, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that
No.
because you're at a point in your life where you need money.
Well, there's loads of people that do jobs just for the money,
And
you know.
we were just talking about that.
There's
Yeah,
nothing
yeah,
wrong with that.
yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh.
And I think it only ever becomes a problem if you don't fulfill your own goals, and then you take
Hmm.
that out on the students.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
only objection I would have, and I think you can see that when you go to like maybe some high schools and stuff like that. But I
Mm.
think one thing I would say for my own teachers, and I feel like I say this all the time, they got better as I got better.
Hmm.
And the teacher I had at RCS was just the nicest, kindest person ever. Joe Pasevich, love you if you're watching. And he was just such a
Shout
good
out.
man. Yeah, yeah, he was. Like, he was like, see if I had a driving lesson, because at that time I was learning how to drive, and there was like clashes with lessons.
Mm.
He paid for it. Like, he was that good a person. He's like, I see what you're
Oh, that's so
doing, you know.
nice.
And if I had a bad performance class or something, he'd be like, you know,
Hmm.
head up, you know, just. And that's when you know it's a good person,
Uh-huh.
you know. And because there's teachers that would just be like, you're a failure, and you know, you're never gonna make it and stuff. And for every single musician, I just entertain it as much as I try and avoid the topic. It always comes up. Like, there's always someone that's like, oh, someone says I was never gonna be good enough, or it was never gonna happen.
Hmm.
And I think it's almost like after you've kind of made it through that, you get like rewarded with a teacher that's just like such a good person, you know. Was that your
Oh,
experience as
that's
well?
so
Or?
nice. I mean, I'm trying to think of how many music teachers, like private music teachers I had overall. Um, Certainly the later ones. I do remember the very last one that I had at the RCS, who was so different from the first one I had at the RCS, just even in generation. She's away now doing lots of fun sort of jazz stuff in London.
Cool.
And I really respect the fact that she went off and pursued her goal. So she did obviously have this job at the RCS and she was teaching there. But I feel like we're quite similar in that we knew we wanted to do those things. And
Nothing was going to stop us.
yeah, basically, I'm just going to go for it.
Yeah, and that's just the best way to approach life, isn't it?
Hmm.
Like, just keep hammering away at the things that mean something to you.
You've got to and see, any negativity and the haters. Like for as many of those that you will have 10 times more people who appreciate it
Yeah,
and
and the people
enjoy
that are negative
listening.
will never actually approach you about that. Like, no one has ever, like, I can imagine no one's ever came up to you or just sent you a DM saying, I think you're legitimately terrible. I really hate the fact that you're doing. Like, have you ever received anything like that?
I've actually never.
Right, that's what I mean. Like, the people that dislike you will never actually go out their way to tell you. It'll be
Uh-huh.
like a silent thing.
Mm.
So it's almost just not worth worrying about.
Yeah.
But has there ever actually been a time when you've said to yourself, oh, is this what I want to do? Like, or have you just had that unwavering commitment to this? Has there ever been times where you're just like, oh, you know, family pressure or like peer pressure?
Never.
Okay.
The quickest answer ever for you is never. I am so obsessed with what I do
Yeah.
to the point of it's not just a job. It's not just a career. I'm obsessed with every aspect of it.
Yeah.
Music in general. Like I can be in the car listening to something and straight away in my head, I'll be like, oh, I wonder how this works on the harp. I'll be like scrambling to like get my phone and to try and, make a voice note of what the title of it is. Or,
Yeah.
I'll be lying in bed at night and struggling to get to sleep. It might be like 1 a.m. and just an idea will pop into my head. And then I'll have to go downstairs and just like switch everything on and do it. Otherwise, I won't be able to get to sleep. Like, that's the level of obsession that I've got
It
with
serves you
what I
right.
do.
It must be exhausting, but at times, like,
Do you know what? It's not, because that is what motivates me. You know, like when a couple comes up to me and they're like, we love this song, but, you know, we can't find anyone that's ever done it on the harp. That gives me such a buzz. I'm
yeah,
like,
oh,
my
I'm
God, I
gonna
wanna
get
do it.
with it.
You know, like I want to do this for them. I've actually got a couple at the minute who I'm working with and playing at their wedding next month. And I'd met them at an open day, and they sent me an email quite far in advance with a list of songs that they wanted, but they'd sent YouTube links, very specific YouTube links, and they're all like Studio Ghibli soundtracks, so full orchestral scores. And I'm having to condense that.
Yeah, good luck.
Exactly. I'm having to condense that in one instrument, which can be chromatically challenged at some points. So I'm like looking through all of these scores and trying to find one that I think, you know, I can work from the best. Is it a condensed piano score? Is it kind of like string quartet score or anything like that? And eventually I find ones that I can work with. And I honestly have been working on these for about 6 months. And just condensing them, working on them, just for this one person's wedding.
Wow.
But I get such a buzz every time I go back to them, and every time I play them through, I'm like, oh, they're going to love this. They're going to love this. It sounds so good.
You strike me as well as someone that's like really like analytical and detailed in your approach to doing these kind of things. I think maybe a lot of musicians would just hear the melody part, maybe make up chords for it, and you'd be like, oh, no, I have to be that harmony and that harmony goes there kind of thing. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's quite, I do like to listen to the originals whilst I'm sat at the harp, and then sometimes I'll play them whilst I'm sat at the harp, and then I'll play along with them, and then I'll stop the recording, and then I'll do kind of my own arrangement. I'll do some like changes in the score, depending on, you know, how can I make it sound as authentic as possible. But the best bit, always in the back of my mind, even actually before the wedding, is when we do the video chat. So because I've been working so long on these scores, and I'm not going to lie, like quite proud of what I've done with them, because I'd never seen any other harpist do a condensed score of these particular songs. They are really challenging.
mm-hmm.
And then when I had this video chat with the couple, and I go into this little bubble when I'm playing, it's really weird. It's hard to explain, but it's almost like the room kind of closes in and I'm not thinking about anything else apart from what I'm doing. And the harp and everything just feels really, really close. And I'm just playing through. So I'm not kind of aware of what the couple are doing or saying to each other or their reactions at the time. But I'd played through this music, and I remember kind of stopping and lifting my head at the end, and like their faces were just like streaming.
Oh.
Just like, but they were smiling. They're just like tears, and they were like red faces crying. And I was like, so good then. Is that a yes?
That's really nice.
And that's like what gives me the buzz, motivation.
Totally, yeah.
Just stuff like that.
Kind of like the people's reaction to
I
your
love
work
it.
then. It does, I guess, like, it shows how big your heart is as well, because it's like almost you kind of like, through giving to other people makes you happy.
Yes,
in a way, like giving what you're
100%.
passionate about.
Yeah, and I had to find a way to do that as a soloist, which was quite hard. But
Yeah.
I think when I'm playing at events and gigs and things, one of the things is, I love to play what people want to listen to, what they're enjoying, not just, like a standard set list of songs. So I'm looking around and I'm looking at people thinking, right, what do you look like you would enjoy? Like, what music do you think you look like? And it becomes sort of a game, And looking at this person, I think you're going to like country music.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I think you're going to like metal or rock I mean, sometimes I'm way off the mark, but I would say maybe like 80.
You always die a little
80%
inside when that
maybe?
happens, don't you? Like, "Ugh." I've got a whole 3 minutes of this to go.
Well, I mean, normally I've got quite a while to gauge.
Yeah.
And if I play quite a variation of genres and I'm sort of looking around to see, right, what are people interacting with? Are they smiling? Are they singing? Are they dancing along? And then I'm like, right, more of that genre, more of that. And I think as kind of the event goes on, that's where I get a real buzz from being able to just play things that people
Yeah,
enjoy.
it's giving
bring
like what
people.
you're passionate about to other people and seeing their reaction to
Yeah.
it. Like that's probably one of the best bits about this job in general, isn't it? It's like
We're givers.
yeah. So,
We're givers.
do you know, my dad has a joke about that. Like, see if someone's like in tears, like because of what like you've performed. It's like I didn't think you were that bad. Which makes me laugh. But no, you're definitely right. I think like when you're passionate about something, you get to give that to someone else and see how happy it makes them. Like it's a moment where you just feel proud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, I like bringing people just happiness. I like making people happy
That's
through music.
very nice.
Like, because music makes me happy. So
Yeah.
I want to bring that to everyone else.
And I think
in
it
the
is
same
just
way.
a testament, isn't it, to like see if you do what makes you happy and you give it to other people, it makes them happy and it just makes the world a better place. You know?
It's a lovely cycle.
It is exactly. It is the best cycle and the optimal cycle.
Uh-huh.
But when we're talking about all the happiness stuff, is there a moment that like you've ever had, which even if there's not just one specific moment, but is there anything that you're most proud of? Whether it's a moment, whether it's just something that you've done, whether it's a long-term kind of like belief that you've held and stuck to, or
Probably it's not one specific performance. I think people would always expect me to say it was a performance in, a really prestigious venue or for someone very important. But honestly, it's probably just being able to make a living and support me and my daughter by performing, because that's all I ever wanted.
yeah. And I think as you get older, you realise it's the simple things that make you happy. I think when you're younger, you're like, right, I want to be famous, I want to be a rock star, I want to go tour the world.
Is that what you wanted to be, Matthew?
Well, no, not really. I mean, like, I was more of a kind of like, do you know what? Like, for me, it was a case of when I was younger, I found music, like, you become passionate about what you're good at, I think. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was like really young. I wanted to be like a pilot or a boxer, but I was like too soft to fight. I was like, oh, I don't want to hurt anyone, and I don't like getting punched, so that wasn't for me. And then
Vetoed instantly.
I wanted to be a pilot at one point, and then I realised I wasn't smart enough. My grades weren't like that good, and that was kind of a lot of
20/20 vision?
academic. Is that the one where it's normal?
It's the one where you have perfect vision.
No, mine's is not perfect.
Okay, so musician it is.
Kind of, but like I found music, and it was the first thing I thought, I'm actually objectively good at this. Everything else felt like a metaphorical bad X Factor edition for things I wasn't good at. But like when I found music, it was like, this clicks. You know, you're almost like dating and like dating destiny almost. You're like, okay, well, what about this? That's not for me. Okay, I'll just put that as an L. You know, maybe I'll be a doctor. Okay, that went really badly. Do you know what I mean? And then you find something that's like, I really enjoy this. It
So
really
how
enjoys.
early on was that?
About
you?
maybe 15, 16.
Uh-huh.
Because that's the time when you're in school, I think, like, nobody really, like, to be fair, I want to be nicer to the education system because I feel like I give it a really hard time. But you can't blame them, right? Because there's so many kids, and it's just a case of, right, okay, we need to get them the things, get them the marks, and give them the best
And
kind
the
of
careers
generics.
advice.
Right, okay. But, like, you don't really know what you want to do at that point, and, like, it also doesn't help when things seem like music was not a conventional thing where it's like you just get an A and then you're guaranteed to get into uni. It was like, right, there's this side quest you have to go on where you have to get 8 grades per instrument. You also have to like set up your own like gigs and stuff like that, which no one's actually going to teach you how to do. Most of the people don't want to teach you how to do it, so good luck with that. You know, like, but I think there is something about music, it just feels like a spiritual call. I think maybe people just feel that with their vocations in general. Like if they're passionate about something, they feel like a calling, and it's like, I'm going to fight through this stuff. But I think I really found that flame at like 16, 17. So a bit later on, but like, and I had to do a little bit of catch up, but you find it, you know? I wasn't one of these people that when I was really young, like I was like, you know, You probably knew what you wanted to do a bit sooner than me. I was kind of more like late high school where I'm like, I'm going to go into music.
Uh-huh.
And never look back, you know?
I mean, ultimately, does it really matter if it was when you were 5 or when you were 15 or 16?
No, but I think like in terms of ability, like someone that starts at 5 is probably always going to be better. Like assuming that you're constantly progressing, even now. Like some people don't. Some people start really young, make all the progress they're going to make by the time they kind of leave uni, and that's them. So I think if there was someone that started at 5 and was just constantly progressing all through their life, there's nothing you can do. Like they're always just going to be better. But I think the
If they
confidence,
keep on at that
yes,
rate of progress.
that gets a lot harder to do as time goes on, doesn't it? It's like diminishing returns.
I mean, there's kind of life, you know, and
Yeah.
adult responsibilities and things like that.
I think like it's amazing that you were so passionate at such a young age, because a lot of people don't find passion, like one, ever, or two, they don't find it till later in life through trial and error. That's why I always get annoyed at people that say, you know, oh, never follow your passion. I'm like, that is the worst life advice ever. Like, I think there's a combination from like,
Who says this?
I thought there was just a guy on YouTube, which is not really saying that much to me. I didn't meet him, but there's some videos I
always a
watch
guy on
that just
YouTube.
annoy me. I'm like, oh, that's
Don't
the
believe
dislike
everything you hear on
videos.
YouTube.
Yeah, but sometimes it's like, I think their grounds for that is like, do what you're good at. But I think you can combine them both, because some people are good at certain things and they hate the thing that they're good at. And
But you know, when you do combine the two of them, everyone says, "Oh, you're so lucky. You're so. It's just luck. It's just luck. No effort."
do you know, I just picked this thing up. There's actually a little button on
Just
my
luck.
saxophone that I play, and then it just like plays all the fingers, and
Yeah.
that's it. I've never learned any
practice.
of these instruments.
Just, you know, everyone just came to me, and I didn't know how to solve.
Just woke up. There was a spider in a museum, and it bit me once, and then I had the ability to play any instrument, like ever.
Yeah.
Before it
No
lab
extra work
accident.
required.
Yeah.
Just hashtag blessed.
That would be really funny. No, but I
Really?
think it is that idea of like almost dating destiny. It's like there'll be some things that you're good at that you don't want to do, and then you have to reject it, be like, nah, it's not for me. There'll be times when you go for something and it's like, no, you're just not very good at it. And then you find that alignment of the two where it's like, I choose you as my vocation and your vocation chooses you. I think like that's what you want, you know,
Yeah.
the alignment of the two.
100%.
Yeah. Where can people find you?
So, most social media platforms, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube.
There we go. And it's just your name.
Charlotte Sager Harpist.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. And thanks for listening, guys. Take care.
Thanks for having me.